Testing, testing.
Era which are enemies.
Welcome to TVOSJ, the voice of San Joaquin. Now it is time for Balancing the Scales.
Welcome to Balancing the Scales, the Economic Justice Report. It's your host, Vic Bernsdorff. And on today's show, we'll be talking about Libertarianism, Propaganda 101, Republican style, and Israeli social welfare benefits. However, before we get to those topics, I'm taking some viewer comments. Sophia from Lathrop asked me, Vic, how can one distinguish propaganda from actual news or facts? You know, Sophia, that's an excellent question because we're going to be full of propaganda. The next election cycle coming up, we're going to be bombarded with propaganda nonstop. Let me just say two things about that. First of all, let's watch this clip. This is what's coming down the pipeline at us. Okay, so I'll come back and talk about it.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
Jordan Peele created this fake video of President Obama to demonstrate how easy it is to put words in someone else's mouth.
Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
Not everyone bought it, but the technology behind such frauds is rapidly improving, even as worries increase about their potential for harm.
Absolutely. What I recommend, Sophia, as an addendum to this, go to thefutureoffakenews.com. It talks about technology like this, where basically you can literally copy someone's voice and make them say anything you want, as well as photoshopping them to look like someone's saying something, and then they're saying whatever you want them to say, just like you just saw here. That's number one. Number two, do me a favor. Go to two websites, and you tell me. You can leave your comments in the Facebook page, comments on my website here for my show, and go to these two websites, and you tell me which website, which I'm going to refer to you think is propaganda, which one's telling you the truth. Okay? First website is freedomworks.org, as in freedomworks, one word, .org. Next one is thepeople.org. Okay? Check out those two websites and leave me your comments. Also, I would advise you to spend some time watching Free Speech TV or the TYT network, and then spend some time watching Fox News Network. And then leave some comments to me as well. Which of those two sites do you think is propaganda? Which one's telling you the truth? Hope that answers your question, at least somewhat. I'll be talking more about propaganda as we get into the election season. Okay, events in Stockton. We got Disney on Ice coming up on February 6th, Stockton Arena. Tickets are priced at $25 to start. Also, Sky Tours at Delta, January 31st, 7 p.m. in the Athletic One parking lot. I went to that last year. It was great. My son had a really good time. Okay, political commentary. The nanny state. What's wrong being taken care of? So, let's talk about what definition of a nanny is. Okay, it's a definition of a nanny. You can look it up. Typically, a nanny is responsible for the entire care of the children of their employers. So all the children have their basic needs provided for. Okay? Now, I'm going to change the definition a little bit. Okay? How about this for a definition? Definition of a government is that a government is responsible for the entire care of their citizens, of their country, of the citizens, responsible for the entire care of the citizens of their country. So that all the citizens have their basic needs provided for. How about that for a definition of a government? Okay. Now, typically, the nanny state is kind of like this. The government using funds from their citizens' payroll taxes and other taxes to provide responsible care for their citizens from birth to death. Specifically, countries like France, all the Nordic countries have so many social welfare protections for their citizens, Republicans would label them, and do label them, as nanny states. In fact, when I was in a conversation with a coworker many years ago, I was talking about, I'd be happy to pay more taxes and get all kinds of social benefits like they do in Nordic countries, Northern European countries. And my coworker, who was a Republican, said, "What do you want, like a nanny state?" And I thought to myself, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I'm willing to pay for it. So my question to my fellow economically challenged Americans is this: what is wrong with the government helping to keep you and your family economically secure at every stage of your life if you're willing to pay the taxes to provide for those services? Right? What services am I talking about? Healthcare, childcare, long-term care, paying for your pensions through your tax system, paying for education, paying for elder care, right? Everything that are the basics in life that keep it from falling through the cracks, okay? That's what I'm talking about. And what's wrong with paying through those services through a tax system? The Nordic countries learned decades ago it's much cheaper to provide those services through the tax system. But why? It takes out the middleman, right? As the middleman, as in healthcare in America, where they skim off 30 or more % in profit. It doesn't go to your care, it goes to their bottom line. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the topic of the theory of libertarianism. Let's watch a clip. And I'll come back and talk about it.
Government should only consist of a military, a police force, and a court system. Additionally, some libertarians think agencies like the FDA are intrusive because they try to regulate what you can and cannot ingest. Safety laws like seatbelt or helmet requirements are also considered to be violations of freedom. Libertarians also tend to lean towards drug legalization, getting rid of welfare, and supporting gun rights. However, some tenets of libertarianism have glaring problems in the real world. One real-world example of limited government and a free market occurred in post-communist Russia. Without government support, Russia's roads and banks collapsed, inflation skyrocketed, and many old and jobless people were left helpless. Libertarianism sounds like a good idea, but like a number of other political philosophies, it may be a bit too idealistic to actually work.
Absolutely it is. Let me give you the backstory behind libertarianism. Libertarianism, based on what I've been reading about it, is kind of like conservatism on steroids. Libertarians don't think that society should be structured as people, depending on each other and supporting each other's needs through the tax system. In fact, conservative economist Friedrich Hayek, Hayek, equated socialism or interdependence to slavery. I'll say this again. The conservative economist Friedrich Hayek equated socialism or interdependence to slavery. Also, the libertarian novelist Ayn Rand went even further, as she saw there is a non-stop warfare going on between the creators and producers, corporations in other words, and the great mass of parasites and moochers. Her words, not mine. Her words for the poor. Great mass of parasites and moochers who use government to steal whatever they can from the deserving few. Imagine that. Folks, this ugly, vicious mindset is how libertarians and most of the Republican Party think of the poor in America. They're nothing but contempt for them. Now compare that with Bernie Sanders' campaign slogan, which is, "Not me, us," which means we're all in this world together. We need to support and help each other so no one falls through the cracks and has to suffer financially or otherwise. Makes sense to me. So, if you go to Bernie Sanders' website, and I talked about this about a year ago on a show about a segment about libertarianism. The reason I'm talking about libertarianism again is it's kind of like the theory of three. You hear things 3 times, then you finally get it. Kind of like learning someone's name. But getting back to libertarianism, if you go to Bernie Sanders' website, search the Koch brothers for David Koch. David Koch ran on the Libertarian platform in 1980, and I'm going to read to you some of the Libertarian Party platform planks, okay? And just think to yourself if you agree with them or not, if you would like to have these things as part of your government. First one, we favor the elimination of Medicare and Medicaid programs. We favor the repeal of the Social Security system. We propose the elimination of the government postal service. We support the repeal of all taxation. We support repealing all minimum wage laws. We condemn compulsory education laws. We support the elimination of the Environmental Protection Agency. We call for the privatization of all public roads and the national highway system. Okay, let me read that last part again, folks. We call for the privatization of all public roads and the national highway system. Toll roads, here we come. Remember I talked about that a couple of shows ago? I live in a state where we had toll roads. We don't want that here. Trust me, we don't want that. Okay? Even Republicans wouldn't want that. Okay? Folks, if you want to see what libertarianism looks like when fully implemented, I recommend you watch the movie Elysium. It's spelled Elysium. It's with Matt Damon. And that movie will show you exactly what libertarians kind of world they want to live in. So libertarian is basically us versus them, dog eat dog, rule of the jungle, every man for himself, kick them when they're down kind of world. Mad Max, here we come. Okay, that's my opinion. Okay, but check out, like I said, check out the Libertarian Party platform planks of David Koch and Bernie Sanders' website and see it for yourself. Trust me, folks, libertarianism, in my opinion, is not a system of governance most of us would ever want to live under, and it doesn't exist in any country in the world. And never forget the reason the French and Nordic people live lives with true economic security is because in those countries the government concerns themselves about the welfare of their citizens, as in the nanny state. Okay? In America, except for progressive Democrats, both political parties could care less about you and me and pander only to corporate America and the elite. Okay, so let's move on now to Spotlight Story, Propaganda 101, Republican style, and let's watch a clip to that effect, and we'll come back and talk about it.
We can make this possible.
But I want us to unpack what the Republicans are doing. Their histrionics actually has a strategy behind it. Now, the reason why we have Fox News is because after Nixon went his merry way, conservatives said, we don't want to ever come that close to having a president be kicked out of office again. And so they developed a propaganda wing.
Precisely.
That includes Fox, that includes all these crazy radio shows, that now includes all these even crazier digital shows that they have on the right end. And so really what we're seeing in terms of the histrionics right now in these hearings is that the Republicans are just creating talking points, right, that their right-wing propaganda arm can use in order to rebut the facts, to confuse, to conflate, to make people believe a reality that's not real, okay? This is a propaganda system that's happening right now, and this right here is a fundamental threat to our democracy when we can create such confusion that we're no longer recognizing what facts are facts and instead taking fiction as potential facts.
Okay, Sophia, I hope that also answers part of your question when you talk about how to distinguish facts from propaganda. Let me just say that some information we're talking about now comes to you from alternet.org, dated 11/1/14. Kind of old, but still very relevant. So let's talk about propaganda. What is propaganda? Looking at any definition, Webster's definition, it'll say something like this: information, ideas, or rumors deliberately spread widely to harm or help a person, group, movement, institution, or nation. Basically, it's telling non-stop lies to get citizens to vote or behave in a certain way to promote a private agenda. It was used in the Soviet Union, was used very successfully in Nazi Germany, it's being used successfully today in America, especially by Republican lawmakers and the corporate media. Now, the reason the Republican Party has to resort to propaganda is because millionaires and corporations are the real constituents. They have the money that the Republicans need to get reelected because elections are expensive, but those millionaires don't make up enough votes. So they have to resort to lying to their base, essentially, with propaganda, hate, and fear tactics, okay, to get them to vote Republican so they can stay in power. Democrats don't need to create propaganda since they already create policies and programs that helped and do help to protect the middle class and the poor, which are the majority of the people in this country. Now, when I say Democrats, I'm talking about, unfortunately, now it's just the progressive Democrats are left. Half the Democratic Party, in my opinion, have already been corporatized and bought off. Okay. Now, let me go to you. Let me go to this alternate.org article. And this is a series of lies that were reported in different news stories. I'm going to go over a lot of these news story headlines and see if you believe these are true or not. Okay, and who is really being targeted to believe these things in the first place? Okay, first one. This is the title of this article is "Insane Fear-Mongering GOP Lies This Election Season." Remember, with the past election, 11-14. First one, Michelle Nunn, who was a Democratic nominee at that time. Michelle Nunn is pro-terrorist because she worked with a Muslim charity. Next one, Obama cut a secret deal to bring Ebola to the United States. Next one, ISIS is coming over the border due to discovered prayer rugs, which turned out to be Adidas jerseys, by the way. Sexual assault is a result of taking the Bible out of schools. Next one, ISIS will send Ebola-infected fighters to the United States. And the next one, hold on to your hats, right? Social programs are leading to suicide. Representative Don Young, a Republican from Arkansas, said that government social programs are leading to a rise in suicides due to a corresponding decline in support from family and friends. He eventually apologized. But let me read this to you again, because it's mind-boggling that how someone can believe this. I'll read this again. Social programs are leading to suicide. Representative Don Young, Republican from Arkansas, said the government social programs are leading to a rise in suicides due to a corresponding decline in support from family and friends. You know, I don't know where to start with this kind of stuff. You know, folks, politicians will be laughed out of office if they said these stupid things in any other industrialized country, or any other country for that matter. How stupid do they think we are? Folks, this is National Enquirer type stuff, okay? But now we know just how gullible the Republicans think we Americans must be. And unfortunately, there's a kernel of truth. There are a large swath of this country which are low information voters, okay? But this technique, right, kind of reminds me of telemarketers and the robocall ideology. What's their ideology? Throw as much stuff out there as you can because it's cheap to produce, right? If only 1% of the people that respond to the propaganda, then they already won. See, throw as much stuff out on the wall, see how much sticks. If just a little bit sticks, they've already won. Okay, so let's move on now to how great we are segment of the program. This comes to you from the National Insurance Institute of Israel. That's where I'm basing my information from. And it's Israeli social welfare programs. I'll outline a little bit about how their social welfare programs, what are they? Let's watch a clip and come back and talk about it.
Every citizen is insured, doesn't matter if he has money or doesn't have money. Mm-hmm. Everyone has to pay health tax, which is around 5% of his salary. But if he has no income, he still gets the same service.
Professor Shlomo Mor Yosef is the Director General of Hadassah Medical Organization. He also heads a national committee that recommends improvements to the Israeli healthcare system. He says statistics show that the Israeli system is cheaper and provides better care overall than the American system.
For Americans who have good insurance, the service in many places is better than the average in Israel. But if you compare on a national level, the service in America, in the US, and in Israel, and you measure outcome, not just the process, so the outcome here for sure is better, and the cost is less.
Rosen says the main message Israel has to offer is that a healthcare system can give good care and not leave the poor behind.
They have economic justice, folks. We don't. We leave the poor behind. Remember the video I showed of the woman being wheeled out because she had problems where her insurance didn't pay and she didn't have any money. So it was wheeled out in the winter. Remember that? Folks, unlike America, Israeli social welfare benefits are generous, comprehensive, and protect their citizens from predatory for-profit type behavior within their society, at least to a great extent. You know, there are over 30 different government benefits that Israel provides its citizens for all kinds of family and personal situations that would put Israeli citizens at some kind of financial risk. They take care of it. Okay. If you want to know what these are, go to www.btl.gov.il. Okay. So let me give you some details about their social welfare benefits. Most Israelis, if not all, earn an old age pension. The National Insurance Institute pays a monthly child allowance to families living in Israel who have children up to the age of 18. There's a maternity allowance for women, working women. It's paid for 105 days. Maternity allowance for 7 days is given to fathers. There's long-term care government benefit to those who reach retirement age, who live in their home and need assistance from another person performing daily activities, so the government pays a caregiver to go and help them out. Healthcare in Israel is universal. All Israeli residents are entitled to basic health care, the fundamental right. And as you've just heard, it only costs 5% of their taxes. Okay. You know, let me just talk about, this is the How Great We Are segment, right? So I talk about countries that are above the United States in the United Nations World Happiness Report. Okay, it's done every year, and they measure happiness across a wide variety of categories, of which economics is obviously one. Now, Israel is number 13 on the World Happiness Report, and we are number 19. And I've been talking about all the countries that are above us in the World Happiness Report and talking about what makes those citizens happy about their country. Okay? I realize that there's all kinds of different categories of happiness. How many friends you have, your relationship with them, your relationship with your family, right? Quality relationship with your children, being out in nature, you know, all kinds of things that define your happiness. Hobbies you have, friendships you have. But if you can't pay your bills, you know, trouble paying your mortgage, trouble making a car payment or whatever, you know what? Does all the other stuff, does it count towards making you happy? If you can't pay your bill, can't pay your rent, can't afford to put food in the fridge, does everything else add to your happiness? I submit to you, and I can't see how. You have to feed your family first and take care of your bills, and then everything else falls into place as far as happiness is concerned. So let's talk about this more. In the recent ranking of countries with the most efficient healthcare system, right? Israel came in 4th place. While the U.S., okay, sit down for this. While the U.S. ranked behind Iran in 46th place, right? Let me read this again to you, folks. In the recent ranking of countries with the most efficient healthcare system, Israel came in 4th place, while the U.S. ranked behind Iran in 46th place. Like I said, how many times have you heard, this is the greatest country in the world, greatest country on earth? We're behind Iran in most efficient healthcare system. Okay. When someone says to you, we're the greatest country in America, the greatest country on earth, ask them to qualify that statement, please. Okay. Israel's life expectancy is 81.8 years, and healthcare costs per capita in Israel are about $2,400. By comparison, Americans have a life expectancy of 78.6 years and spend $8,600 in healthcare costs per capita. Okay? Folks, why can't Americans have the same wonderful benefits as the Israelis do? Okay? Basically, because one political party doesn't care about average Americans. So unless we get out there and protest against being fleeced, financially fleeced, and I mean protesting like the French yellow vesters and the other protests in France going on about their pensions, and the protests in Hong Kong. Unless we go out and protest, healthcare and education costs will never go down, and we will continue to suffer financially. Okay? Now, before I come to the end of the show for today, let me just read to you some stories. Okay? This will take about just a minute. And this comes to you from truthout.org, dated April 28th, 2019, titled American Healthcare Horror Stories. When Vox Health, and I'm quoting now, when Vox, as in VOX, folks, not Fox News, when Vox healthcare reporter Sarah Cliff spent 15 months reviewing over 1,000 emergency room bills, she discovered a world of outrageous patient bills. One example, Scott Cohen had gone to a hospital that was in-network for his insurance company, but the surgeon who operated on him wasn't. So he was billed $8,000 for surgery on his broken jaw. Another example, Jessica Palla went to a New Jersey emergency room where her treatment for a cut ear consisted of a single ice pack, and she was charged over $5,000 for the ice pack. Imagine that. Folks, now you need to see why we need Medicare for all. Okay. That's the show for today, folks. Thanks for listening. This is Vic Bernsdorff at 89.5 FM, KBCC Community Radio in Tracy. And always remember, social democracies are designed to protect you during every phase of your life. Have a great day.
For more information on the Voice of San Joaquin, go to tvosj.org.
Old Tannenbaum.